So where does the secular Jewish state of Israel fit into prophecy? Answer: the events that led to the creation of the modern secular state of Israel do not appear to fulfill Scripture. But it does tell us the clock is ticking. God seems to be doing something in preparation. Its existence does enable future prophecies to be fulfilled, in particular Zechariah 12, that describes the fight for Jerusalem and their mourning for the one they've pierced. So you can't fight for Jerusalem unless you got Jerusalem. So the secular state's got the Jews in Jerusalem. And by the way, Jerusalem it's got a very high concentration of the ultra-Orthodox. And many of them may be from the house of David. The secular state may become a religious state in the next major war, world war or upheaval. So at the moment, the secular government is, Netanyahu is trying to be secular, but he's got so many religious people. He's trying so hard to be secular and get the religious vote, but kind of keep them at bay at the same time. That's got to fall away at some stage, and you're going to have religious people say, no, we're not giving away the land. We're going to fight you Arabs. You're going to come against us. We're going to come against you. We're not taking captives. We're not sparing any lives. We're going to shoot to kill, and we've got our mark on your forehead, and you come against us, and we're going to pop you off, and you're going to get a cap in your head, and you're going to be down there in hell with your 70 virgin donkeys or whatever, and that's going to be so it's
72.
Is it? Mate, if I got to one, I'd lose count. That's for sure. So, the secular Jewish state of Israel, through the upheaval when upheaval comes to America, it may be coming to Israel at the same time. Okay, and God is going to purify us, and He's going to purify them. Their secular state may go, we don't have the answers anymore. And the Jews say, we're sick of compromising with the nations. Our back's against the wall. We're just going to fight and stuff it, or we're going to trust in God. We ain't got a choice. Our back's against the wall, and let's get it on. The secular Jewish state becomes a religious rabbinic state of Judea, but they're still hostile to Yeshua. They haven't mourned for the one they pierced, but they're getting ready. So this is my take on it. This is where I see the secular state. The religious rabbinic state of Judea becomes, that's hostile to Yeshua, the Davidic kingdom of Judea. Now they're ready for us because they've mourned for the one they've pierced. They're fighting for Jerusalem in Zechariah 12. And David is fighting like God. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God. Woohoo! As the angel of the Lord before them. B'yom hahu yagin Yahweh ba'ad yashiv Yerushalayim v'hayah nakshal b'him b'yom hahu ka David uveit David ka Elohim umalak Ka malak Yahweh lifnehim. Well, that is cool. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem. Okay, United Nations, take a number. So you're going to be lined up. So the Lord is going to get jealous on that day. So that's where I see Zechariah fitting in. Is that this prophecy. The Jews must have been coming into the land in unbelief, and now they're returning to the Torah, rabbinical, but there's going to come a time when they're going to go, our backs against the wall, secular government falls apart, and the religious Jews take over. They're hostile to Yeshua, but they're starting to get their act together. And they mourn for the one they've pierced. Then, once they've mourned for the one they've pierced, Zechariah 12:10, and I will pour, so this is the next verse after what we just read, And I'll pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications, and they shall look upon me, whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. This does not bring about the second coming. They're reconciling to the Messiah. He ain't coming yet. They ain't made themselves ready. But at least we're on speaking terms. Now, something else can happen. In those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. And that's maybe why some of the house of Judah is in with us in the north country, because there's been a war, and most of them have fled there, and the rest of them are fighting for Jerusalem. They're holed up there, you know. And once the inhabitants of so it's basically the inhabitants of Jerusalem and David's descendants in particular that are fighting for Jerusalem. Then the spiritual blockage to the restoration of the kingdom is made. Again, this is the local kingdom to Israel, of a united Israel and Judah. They've got to mourn for the one they're pierced. Remember, the temple can't be rebuilt until that baseless hatred is dealt with. That's the rabbi's own words. I'm only saying what they've said. Judah and Israel are united under one head. The temple and priesthood are in operation. I've talked about this before. We're almost there. Yet the number of children of Israel shall be as the sand of the seashore, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are sons of the living God. That's us, quoted by Paul in Romans. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered. So this is the context of it. Be gathered together and appoint themselves one head. That's not Yeshua, although yes, it will be. But I think they're talking about an earthly head because they've come together in the land. So yes, they've got one head in heaven, but they're getting a king to lead them down here. And they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. And that name Jezreel rearranges the name Eleazar. It's got all the letters for the name Eleazar, and it's got a yod there. So I think that's related to the priesthood. So as the Israel and Judah come together, so does the priesthood. So most tribulation-related timelines contain a lot of truth. So I'm not knocking them. I love them. But they're concentrating on a period of time that I don't think we're at. But there are events that occur before the tribulation. Most timelines focus on the tribulation, and there I've got it. So that tribulation timeline we saw before, there's a lot of value in it, but it's concentrating on a very, very specific period of time of 7 years. That's very concentrated prophetically, a lot going on. But there's some other stuff that's happening right here before it. And it's the regathering to the north country and from the north country into the Messianic kingdom. The end of the USA is a big deal, but it is not the end of the world. What is best in the USA and everywhere else is going to the north country and later to the land of Israel itself. So here's our timeline, which I had before, and I've put the different in the orange, I've got the different crops that are being harvested. Barley's related to the house of David. And that's another story. Wheat is related to the Pentecost. Barley is at the time of Nisan, Yeshua, from the house of David, Passover lamb. Then we come into the wheat harvest of 2,000 years almost, the church age. And then we come to the burning up of the fields and the destruction of the Sodom and Gomorrah generation. Then we come into the time of figs. And there'll be really good ones and really bad ones. And that's perhaps the harvest that the Lord's working on that Messianic kingdom of David, or Davidic kingdom, for however long it is. Maybe it's 50, 100 years, I don't know. But it's going to be long enough for us to change in quite a way. And then the next crop is grapes. And those are what are being trampled. It's not tears being burnt up that's in Revelation so much as, although there may be tears that are still being burnt up, it's mostly the grapes are ready for harvesting, grapes of wrath. And maybe good grapes as well, because Israel is God's vineyard, the house of Israel. And the woman, midway through the tribulation, this is out of the scope of this talk, the woman makes herself ready. Israel's ready midway through. She's got the 12 stars above her head. Dragon can't touch her. She's standing on the moon. She's clothed with the sun. And she gives birth to man-child. I've got a whole other teaching about what all that's about. And then we have the millennial kingdom, and that's perhaps the olive crop. So God, that harvest cycle is about the harvest of souls and what God's been building over these not only 6,000 years, but also 7,000 years. So this has been, Yeshua's been gathering in the wheat, and now we're waiting those palm trees of smoke. We've already had one in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we're going to have a fair few more. So we've seen this before. I won't go through all of that. We've seen it all before. Here where we are, just here. We're awaiting World War III. And the Bible doesn't say World War III, but it does say trials and tribulations and birth pangs, and it does talk about Jacob being made thin. It does talk about a Sodom and Gomorrah generation, only a remnant being saved. And so world wars are very good ways of getting rid of people that the Lord won't reason with, but just destroy, because they were made to be destroyed. So he gave them a hard heart. They didn't want to know him. He hardened their heart so that he may destroy them. So, choose which side you're on. I love Yeshua. I think he's amazing. Why would anyone hate him? So, we have the Davidic kingdom coming, then the tribulation at some stage later on, and then the 1,000-year millennial reign after that. And the Gog-Magog invasion, the great white throne judgment, the new heavens and new earth, New Jerusalem coming down as a bride.